The avatar component is used to display a user's profile image and has a built-in fallback in case that image fails or hasn't loaded yet. Avatars are common in navigation bars to show some type of account information, warning, or some type of notification system. It's also many times used in testimonials, even in blog posts, collaboration, and also showing it on author pages as well. In this video, we'll be discussing how to configure an avatar, style an avatar, and bind data to an avatar. Let's go ahead and get started with configuring an avatar. The first step to working with an avatar and configuring an avatar is to insert one from the library. Once we get an avatar added to our page, we can see the anatomy of what makes up an avatar is the avatar itself, an avatar image, where the avatar image is how you'll set the user's image with the source prop, and also applying alt text for SEO purposes. We then have the avatar fallback for displaying the initials for when an image fails, or if it doesn't load, or if an image just does not exist for that user in particular. We can go ahead and work with these properties as we've seen during the anatomy breakdown to change this avatar initials to JD here for in the avatar fallback. And then for the avatar image, we can go ahead and update the image to our John Doe. And then of course, changing the alt text. This has no visible representation, just for SEO purposes. Now that you know how to configure an avatar, let's jump into the next steps of learning how to style an avatar. In this example, to show how to style an avatar, we've already created an avatar that we want to recreate with this second avatar here on the right. We'll be walking through the steps of how you can manipulate and add styles to the different elements of avatar to achieve this outcome. The first thing that we want to do is let's start with the default avatar here. I know that from just looking at this avatar looks a little bit larger in size, and it also has a border being applied to it. So we can start by adding a border and give this border 4 pixels, and then we need to bump up the height and width of the avatar itself. So again, I'm going to pick from a scale from my height and width. That is way too large. Let's bring that back down. All right, 14 looks good. And 14 looks good there. So now we have the height and width pretty close, the border pretty close, if not spot on. And just so then we can see the fallback initials, let's remove the current source property here. So this is pretty much going through and showing the example, like if this image just doesn't exist, this is what we're going to get. This is what we'll show all the time. So the fallback image then, or the fallback initials then, looks like we need to bump up maybe the font size and increase the font weight. Now that that's been completed, I think the only thing that we're missing here is the little bell notification. And this bell notification is using the same background color as the border. And if we zoom in, there's also what looks to be a white border going around the notification as well. So we'll get started first by adding a block And then inside this block, actually, it looks like, and I'm going to cheat a little bit. I notice that this is using a Flexbox row. So we'll set this display to Flex. It's now in row. And what else are we going to do here? We also need the bell icon. So let's search for bell. We'll grab this one. Give the overall, the row here, a background color. And we'll choose that same background color as the border. Indigo 500. Then apply a color to the typography section. So then we get the nice white bell icon. And I'm already noticing that the bell is being displayed right next to the fallback. We want that bell to always be in the upper right-hand corner. So we'll set this position to absolute. Next, I'm going to cheat and take a look at some of the styles here, because it looks like maybe this style is being reduced a little bit. Yeah, so we've got a width and a height of 6. We have a spacing 6 here. We've got color white. Radius is full. Okay. And then the outline. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll double check their stylings on the icon itself. Icon, let's reduce that size. Center the icon back inside of our row here. And finally, we just need to get the bell icon up above the actual ring, the border on the outside avatar. Just double checking styling here. So we have overflow, and here we have overflow hidden, so we'll make it visible. All right, that's getting us closer. And I think the last few steps are just tweaking the position. All right, so yeah, looks like this one, we're using a position of top negative 10% and right negative 10%. All right. And that is how an avatar can be styled. We've styled everything from the avatar, the root avatar component, to even some details on the avatar fallback, and including a bell notification that is added to the avatar. Finally, let's jump into binding data. We'll now cover how to bind data to an avatar. So oftentimes when working with avatars, you're working with or using avatars on a website, you have some type of data that's coming in from a backend, whether it's WordPress or any other type of API. You are fetching some type of user information for comments or on a blog post author. So you'll always be working in a scenario where you need to get data. So what we've done is I've created a function here and bound it to a data primitive to fetch some data. All this data, this get user data function is doing is just returning a regular JSON payload object where it's giving me the profile image, the image alt information, and the initials. First things first, since we have the avatar already out, on our page here, it's inside the data, so it's able to retrieve that data from the getUserData function. I'm going to go to my avatar image. I'm going to select the green icon here to bind. And I'm going to open up my getUserData and select my profile. You can then do those same steps for the alt text. The last thing that we need to do to finish out making this avatar fully dynamic is binding the initials, and we are done. So we've learned the different ways that avatar is used when building websites. We've learned how to configure an avatar and all the different parts that make up an avatar's anatomy and its properties. We learned how to style an avatar and even bind data to an avatar to make it dynamic. Please leave comments below with any questions that you may have. Thank you.